Hi everyone, welcome to my brand new channel where I'll be talking all things home decor and interior design. This is my first ever video, so please do like, comment and subscribe if you'd like to see more home decor and interior design content, from visual inspiration to curated recommendations and much more. And I thought a good way to start it all off would be to share with you my favourite home decor and interior design accounts on Instagram. These are the accounts that I always go to for ideas on styling, where to buy artwork and for just general inspiration. So eclecticism is a style that I really love, a style that's defined by mixing and matching, so whether it be colours, patterns, textures, furniture styles, all of it. I'd actually call this style in particular eclectic maximalism, where it's all about defying expectation and adhering to the principle of more is more. And what I love about all these accounts that I have on this list is that they design with freedom. There are barely any rules, and that's what really inspires true creativity. And they're largely home decor accounts, but there are a few actual interior designers thrown in too. So without further ado, let's go straight into the video. Here are my top 15 Instagram accounts to follow for eclectic home decor inspiration. So first up at number 15, we have Maisie Violet Reese. The two main things to note about Maisie's account is that she lives in a rented flat and almost her entire house is a DIY upscale project, which I find just mind-blowing. She spends like £10 on a thrifted bit of furniture and completely transforms it into something lustworthy for such small money. Like this kitchen you see here, done with a £2 roll of tape from IKEA. It's just amazing and really inspires you to just go ahead and get on with decorating your space instead of waiting until you own your own home before making it yours. This account is honestly a renter's paradise. So next up at number 14 is Mel Mitchia, run by Mel and Mitch. I've included this account in my list because I'm in awe of how someone can decorate their entire house in largely just one colour, or various shades of one colour, and for it to look so pleasing to the eye and not boring at all. It's a true lesson in layering and texture, and I have to say that her Modigliani gallery wall is just perfect. At number 13, we have One Alchemy House, run by Jennifer, who is actually an interior designer, but this account tracks the renovation of her own house, which is Victorian. Her house is, for lack of a better word, really rich in that maximalist way that I love. It's quite traditional in parts, but also really not. It's really quite dramatic, but also really cozy looking at the same time, and her taste in wallpaper is just divine. The detail in her choice of wallpapers just makes the entire house pop. Though my favourite thing about this house, aside from the disgustingly beautiful bathrooms, is the printed velvet fabric she has on her living room ceiling. I mean, it gives me serious house envy. This next account is run by Natalie. She runs both at LA Girl 310 and at K-Town Chateau, both of which feature her apartment. Now, I cannot stress how much I love Natalie's house because it gives off this really understated sense of sophistication. It's like what a grown-up's apartment should look like, except grown-up has still got their cheeky sense of humour inside them. There's like a subtle Art Deco vibe going on with splashes of antique furniture, gold accents, feminine murals, and little injections of fun everywhere, whether it be the framed artwork or the room service / cabana service bell she has up on her guest room wall. It all just really works. At Oxford One is in at number 11, and it's run by Lissy, who's based up in the north of England. Now, if you love colour, then this account certainly won't disappoint. I mean, it's filled with all the bright moments in her home, and there are a lot of them. There's a lot of bold colour blocking and fun clashing patterns, and I've always thought that this can make a space look like it's for kids, but I think she takes a step back before it gets into that territory, which is why her home just kind of makes you happy. The next account is at Meneer de Jager. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, to be honest, but he's based in the Netherlands, and I really love the monochromatic tone of his apartment with the really bold ochre velvet sofas. Also, I'm a sucker for black and white stripes and just most things with a high contrast, which is why I love his apartment. There are lots of quirky decorative pieces, and he changes things up quite frequently actually, which keeps things quite interesting. Another thing is that Meneer also sells vintage pieces direct from his account, so it's worth keeping an eye on if you live in the area. Next up at number 9 is at the Gladys Tay. Now this apartment is nothing short of an art gallery. It's a treasure trove of stuff, what I would call a maximalist's dream. I mean, everywhere you look, there's something to see, the definition of feast of the eyes. And yet it doesn't seem cluttered at all. It just looks really expensive, like every piece could be worth tens of thousands. And I also like that her little terrier dogs are hidden in almost all of her pictures. It's like a Where's Wally game you play whenever she posts. Little Edwardian at number 8 is run by Reese and Paul, and now you'll notice instantly that this is a departure from the rest of the accounts on this list because there's barely any colour in this house at all. It's almost entirely monochrome, with the only other colour used being green, which comes from the plants and that one armchair. But if you spend time on this feed, you'll notice that there's actually quite a lot going on in the flat in terms of the eclectic artwork and the ornaments. But by keeping it all in that black and white colour palette, there's a restraint that makes this house just pure goals. It's super dark and moody and just oozes sophistication. And if this house doesn't inspire you to paint your entire house black, I don't know what will. Nude and the Novice is in at number 7. Now this account is run by Sarah and is for me a real exercise in blending opposites together to create something wow. There's contrasts in colours, dainty meets bold, curves meet straight lines, and it creates a really fun yet elegant space. In particular, her choice of wallpapers is a good example of how bold patterns can blend into a space without taking over everything, and how funky can also be really elegant. So at number 6 we have House of Hipsters. So House of Hipsters could be seen as another anomaly on this list because it's not an explosion of colour, but this is one of few largely neutral homes that really appeals to me. The pops of colour against the white make what colour there is in the spaces really impactful, and there are little jolts of the unexpected, like the mugshots in her living room, for example. And I have to say, this is probably the best styled home on this list. It's cosy, clean, and still very interesting. At Beth Diana Smith is in at number 5. Beth is an interior designer based in the New Jersey, New York area. She describes herself as an eclectic maximalist, and the images you see here of her own home, which is so well put together. It's got this luxe, Afrocentric vibe about it that I love, with some beautiful furniture pieces like her sideboard, which you can see here, and also her kitchen bar stools, which you can see here. Her use of patterns and textures, whether it be in her choice of rugs, cushions, or wallpaper, is super impressive and just gives her space such a refined, subtly layered look that I'd love to be able to achieve in my own place. Another thing to note is that she really champions artists of colour, so she's a great source of inspiration for artwork. In at number 4 is at Belly Byler, run by Sienna, who's a self-described glamohemian, a new word I love. It describes the house perfectly, which is bohemian with a touch of glam. There are beautiful pops of colour throughout her home, which works from a neutral base, aside from the spaces where she commits to colour, like her bold magenta coloured study or her deep green coloured bedroom. And I have to say that she's the one who's inspired me to bring plants into my space. And along with the infusion of Afrocentric elements throughout the house, it adds to that really eclectic, travelled look. Sienna has great taste in artwork. She's another one who champions artists of colour, and she also is the queen of finding beautiful thrifted furniture for prices are so unfair. And I love her account because she always takes you through her design and editing process in each of her rooms, which really makes everything feel achievable. And she also does consultations if you need some help with some design issues in your own home. And the final thing to note is that Sienna is also an issues person, and by that I mean she very boldly discusses social justice issues on her account, which I find really engaging and necessary, so you not only get the home decor inspiration but also get to engage on social issues. Next up is at Jewel Marlowe. Jewel is a military spouse who moves a lot, but always takes the time to do up the homes her and her family find themselves in. And I think my love for this account is self-explanatory. Her current home is just to die for. And in her own words, Jewel has a knack for mixing soulful finds with quality brands to create a high-end looking, curated and glamorous home, which is exactly what her house is. Super polished with this powder blue tone in a lot of the rooms, and she has an amazing eye for pattern. Her house looks super eclectic and, let's be honest, super expensive, but she is also an upcycle queen. A lot of the things you see in her home, and I mean a lot of them, she's done herself, so she achieves the luxurious look for a lot less than you'd think. Either way, I find her taste levels to be off the chart. We're almost at number 1, but before we get there I have to introduce you to the number 2 account, which I absolutely love. At Home Ecop, which is run by Natalie, a very talented interior designer. Her account is mostly filled with images of her own house rather than her work projects, and honestly the houses she's lived in are just so well put together. Things you'd have never thought to pair, she just makes look natural and inspiring. Natalie's actually said that yellow is her favourite accent colour, and personally, yellow gives me life, which is probably why she's one of my favourite accounts. There are splashes of it in a lot of her spaces, and actually also, who would have known that painting your ceiling a bold colour whilst keeping your walls white could be so impactful. Her home is just really lived in and whimsical, and she has a real eye for art and ornaments, so despite all the mishmash, the spaces just make sense. I just love everything she does. And we're finally down to the last account, the one you've been waiting for, the number 1 account to follow on Instagram for eclectic home decor inspiration, and that account is at Liz Khan. Liz Khan runs an interior design firm out of Newton, Massachusetts, and is my ultimate inspiration. She definitely has that New England interior design vibe about her, which I can sometimes find alienating, if I'm honest, in its sort of stuffy display of old wealth, but she's injected so much fun into tradition and I'm just obsessed with her work. What you're seeing here is her own home, and she said how she uses her home to go to places that perhaps some of her clients would be too scared to go in their own homes. She pushes the boundaries and creates these beautifully colourful spaces that look expensive, curated yet really livable. And her house is just one big playground, and I find the unexpected quirk and colour combinations in the midst of tradition such an inspiration on how to style a home. If you'd like to see her give a rather detailed tour of her home, go on to the House Beautiful Instagram account, and they have a bunch of IGTV tours that were filmed by interior designers during lockdown. They're a really fun and inspiring watch. So I know that should be it, but I'm greedy, and there's one more bonus account that I've thrown in. @BlackLacquerDesign. It's an interior design firm based in LA and run by Caitlin, who I first came across on that new series on Bravo, Best Room Wins. I don't know if you've seen it before, but she's one of the designers in the very first episode, which was looking at Hollywood Regency style. I mean, the series as a whole is a highly recommended binge watch for anyone into interior design. Anyway, her self-defined aesthetic is playful, glamorous, and cozy, and she's got a real eye for colour and uses it in a way that, I don't know, just makes me smile. Her designs are super whimsical, just up my street, and I thought it would be a real shame not to include her on this list of recommended inspiration, so here she is. So that's it. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this video and been inspired by the images. I'll link to all the Instagram accounts in the description box below. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.